Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Ed was going to a store outside of campus to buy art supplies. When the sun came out, the air really started to get warmer. He went to the store the same way he always does. He did it mostly so he could pass Marge's bridal. As Ed walked toward the front of the store, he could feel his heart rate go up. He started to feel a little bit of excitement. As he slowly walked past the front window, he saw a beautiful white wedding dress. The long sleeves were sheer and had a flower-like pattern made of beads. The bodice is just as pretty in white satin and a scoop neck. When Edie's saw the full tulle skirt, his eyes got very big, as Ed's looked at the beautiful white bridal princess ball gown. As he walked by the window, the dress caught his attention. As soon as Ed could no longer see the display, he wished there was a good way for him to go into that store and try on that dress. He hasn't been able to dress up for a while. Ed knew it would be too dangerous to wear women's clothes in his dorm room once he went away to college. He had never been willing to take a chance. Now that he was in a fraternity, he had even less privacy because he was living with a bunch of beer-drinking jocks. Ed was 5 feet 9 inches tall. He was 160 pounds heavy. He went to Bradley University for his first 2 years of college and played basketball there. Ed played the guard position. From the three-point line, he had a great shot. Very accurate from the outside. He couldn't get inside because he didn't have enough strength. He didn't play much, and his team would usually only bring him in when they were ahead by a lot. He would often get distracted while sitting on the bench during a game. What else could a basketball player do besides watch a great game, you might ask? Well, cheerleaders, if you prefer. They looked so cute in their tops and skirts. Ed just sat there and looked, wishing he had one of those cute red and white uniforms. Ed was having a hard time getting over how much he missed cross-dressing. He would dream about going into women's clothing stores and rummaging through the racks just to feel the soft fabric. The stress was getting worse, and he felt it day and night. There was always a girl in class who wore an outfit that he wished he could wear. Ed knew that if he didn't give in to dress like a woman, something would have to give. He'd lose his mind. As Ed got closer to the bookstore, a whole bunch of emergency vehicles pulled out onto the street. He listened to the sirens as they went by. A fire truck, an ambulance, and 2 police cars pulled up. A couple of people from the store were standing outside as smoke poured out of the roof. The emergency crew started pulling out the hose, while doctors checked to see if any of the workers were hurt. Ed couldn't believe that he was so focused on the bridal store that he didn't notice that the restaurant on the other side of the street was on fire as he walked by. Then, as he looked back down at Marge's bridal, a bad thought came to him. People were standing around outside the stores. He had an idea that hit him like a bolt of lightning. He made his way slowly back to the dress shop. As he got to the front door, he stayed at the back of the crowd. He looked inside the store, but he didn't see anyone. Ed looked at the people watching and thought that the employees had to be among the large group. Ed took another look through the window, then quietly slipped into the bridal store through the front door. He dropped to the ground and moved quickly to the back, seeing a set of stairs that led to a basement. This was the best chance for him to find a place to hide. He ran down the stairs and found a corner filled with racks of dresses. Ed snuck into the racks and found a dark place to hide. Then, after 3 deep breaths, he closed his eyes. He told himself to calm down. Tonight would be his night. Even though the store closed at 5, he had to wait for the women to leave. He looked at his watch in the little light, and it said 2:30. He looked at all of the dresses in the place where he was hiding, dozens of gowns made of white satin. It was going to be hard for him not to reach out and start touching the different fabrics of the dresses. So Ed put his head back against the wall and eventually fell asleep. The bride stood at the top of the stairs with her back to the group of women waiting to catch the bouquet. A photographer set up shop about halfway up the stairs. White flowers grew on green vines that wrapped around the railing and banister. Her ivory dress had a long train and a skirt that flowed down. The back was shaped like a heart, and it was made of sheer white that showed off the bride's soft skin. All of the single women were ready to fight for the prize. She turned and looked at the group from below. Her face was perfectly made up. On top of her long brown curls, there was a flowery headpiece. It was a face I knew. She held the bouquet in her left hand and made 3 movements like she was throwing it. Every time the bride moved, the women acted as if she had let go. Then, on the 4th move, the bouquet of flowers flew over the bride's shoulder and landed in the sea of waving hands. The bride turned around and smiled as his little sister took the bouquet. He suddenly opened his eyes. Ed's mouth was parched. He wondered how long he had been asleep. Now it was dark in the basement. Ed carefully crawled out and made his way to an emergency exit sign. The small light from the sign told him that it was just after 8 o'clock. It had been 3 hours since the store had been closed. He carefully listened, but he didn't hear anything. Ed slowly crept up the stairs, being very careful. If someone caught him in the store, he had a lot of things to say. The fire made me feel lost. He was going to lie and say he had a trauma as a child. When he sees a fire, he gets scared and runs away. He had a lot of time to come up with a reason. As I went up the stairs, the only sound I could hear was the sound of cars going by outside the store. When I was in the back of the store, I double-checked the front to make sure it was empty. He took 3 deep breaths to calm down. He looked around the store with his eyes. He let the light from the window displays in front of the store shine into the front of the store. He also had a small sign that said, "Exit," by the back delivery door. ED's eyes got used to the store, which was mostly dark. Ed had made a list of the things he could choose from. There were many beautiful dresses. He thought this might be his last chance, so he wanted to do a good job. He went to the back of the store and went into the room with the delivery door. He found white pants with silk on the front and back and lace on the sides. He found stockings and garter belts. He found a white corset-style bra with no straps. Then he turned to go back into the store when he saw another row of shelves with what looked like shoe boxes. He walked over and opened one of the boxes where he found a pair of high heels. He carefully looked for a size 12 shoe that would fit his size 11 foot. Men need that extra size because their feet are wider. He found a pair of low, white satin heels. He took his choice and went to one of the rooms where you can try things on. Every change room had its own light switch. He found one in the back so that no one outside the store would suspect him. Then he tore the package of white stockings open. He sat on the bench with his legs crossed. He leaned forward and, with one sock rolled to the foot, slid the nylon over his foot and slowly rolled it up his leg. He did the same steps again with the other leg. Then Ed got to his feet and put the garters on the stockings. There were 3 garter straps on each leg, one for the front and back. He knew how to wear clothes with garters because he had worn them before. So it was easy for Ed to hook the garter tabs into the tops of his socks. After putting on his stockings, he put on a pair of lace and silk pants. He was so happy that he had a big grin on his face. Ed took the corselet up. He put around his body and did the hooks from the front. He sat back down on the bench again and put on the 2-inch heels. His prize was waiting for him in the store. An actual wedding gown. He could choose from a huge number of things. Ed left the changing room and went into the store. To keep them safe, all of the dresses were in clear plastic zipper bags. Ed looked at the racks and found the spot with all the size 16 wedding dresses. Some of his mother's 14-size clothes were too small for him. He looked through the racks slowly until he found a dress that seemed too good to be true. When he took it off the hanger, he was surprised by how heavy it was. He went back into the dressing room and hung the bag on the hook. He opened the back zipper to show the gown. The white dress had a satin top and a full satin skirt. The crinoline inside the dress made the skirt flare out. The sleeves were long and puffed out at the shoulder. He took off the dress's clasps, buttons, and zipper from just above the waist down into the skirt. There was a big white bow on the back. He let the dress fall to the ground and stepped into it. Ed lifted the dress and put his arms into the sleeves. Then he finished putting the dress on his shoulders by pulling the dress over his head. Ed turned to the side to look in the mirror so he could reach behind him and pull the zipper to where it should be. Now, though, the clasps and buttons were giving him trouble. Ed did his best, but he could only do the ones at the top and bottom. He walked into the main room ready to have fun, but was shocked to see someone standing there with their arms crossed. The voice asked, "What's you doing here?" Ed made up those excuses in his head, but he couldn't remember them. He didn't think sleepwalking would work either. "Not gonna talk, huh? You wait right there!" Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.